Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The Goddess and the Demon King, Book 1, The Goddess's Journey by Raven_Draws. Chapter 3. The Goblin Village Summary. Rimuru leaves the cave and stumbles upon a village of goblins that's being attacked by wolves. Pav. Meanwhile, the reason I called for you is simple, Ghoulidmaster. The Kingdom of Bloomond, a small country bordering the Great Jura Forest, is currently getting the worst outcome of Veldora's disappearance. It regards the disappearance of Veldora, the Storm Dragon. We can anticipate monsters growing more active and aggressive in the near future. Tell me how the guild plans to address this. By doing nothing. The Guildmaster states. He drinks his tea before he continues. It's the kingdom's job to plan for this, not ours. We're not volunteers. We don't work for free, Baron. The Baron sits down across from the Guildmaster before asking the maids to leave. He starts rubbing his head in annoyance. I think you lost some weight, Vriard, and maybe gained more gray hairs. The Guildmaster chuckles. Don't tease me. I need information, Fuse. It's quite possible that more is at stake here than just increased monster activity, Vriard stated. The Eastern Empire. He nods. Correct. Now that the proper check against their power is gone, nothing prevents the Eastern Empire from invading us. The smaller independent nations along the forest of Jura won't stand a chance. They'll be swept up in a blink. Even now we still don't even know what that massive energy surge was 1,000 years ago that shook the world from that accursed cave. Not even the demon lords ever did either. Fuse finishes his drink and sets it down. Fine, as a favor to an old friend, I'll undertake an investigation. Your help is appreciated. Don't mention it. I'm curious about Veldora's disappearance, too. He wouldn't just vanish without reason. Something must have happened in that cave. Oh, Rimuru Pav. 2 weeks later. It's been about 2 weeks since Veldora was placed in my stomach, and it's gotten a little lonely. I was really happy to talk and be friends with Veldora, but since he's gone, I'm traveling alone again. So for now, while I try to find my way out of the cave, I'm practicing on my skills and seeing if I could get new ones too. So far I'm trying new techniques using water pressure propulsion, to try to use it offensively. I load the water around my hand, then I try to slice a rock far away, which shoots the water out of my hand and cuts the rock like butter. Skill earned. Water blade, perfect. After that, I once again continue through the cave, collecting herbs and magisteel along the way. After a long while walking, I stumble across a large door in the cave blocking the way forward. I started thinking of different ways to deal with it, from cutting it down with water blade, or devouring it with predator. However, that immediately stopped when a flash entered my mind of 3 people approaching the door from the other side. I immediately ran behind a rock as the same 3 people from the flash opened the door not even a second later. What was that? Answer. That was the effect of the eccentric skill, awareness. The skill has a 25% chance to show a flash to the user of what's going to happen in the next second. I see, that can be quite helpful later on. Looking back at the 3 who entered, they seem like adventurers, 2 male and a female. Going from who appears to be the leader, he's a man, possibly late 20s, with medium-length hair with a small goatee on his chin. The other man looks a little older with short brown hair over a headband. He has a goatee like the first guy. Then the female, the shortest of the 3, has shoulder-length blonde hair and green eyes with special markings under them. The reason why I believe they are adventurers is because of the weapons they have on them, a sword and a dagger for the males respectively, and a staff for the girl. Phew, finally got it open. Damn keyhole was rusted through. I heard the man with the bandana say. What do you expect? It hasn't been opened or had any maintenance for 300 years. The Guildmaster sure is working us hard, expecting us to investigate this old sealed cave. The girl sighs. Don't be such a worrywart. I bet that scary dragon turns out to be nothing but a big lizard. If only you knew the truth, though, from the way he was acting, he kinda was just a big lizard. I start to think if I should make contact with this trio of adventurers or not. I don't know anyone here, so it would be good to learn more about where I am, and I could easily talk to them since I'm not a monster. However, I'm not sure if I would trust them or if they would trust me, especially if they found out that I'm part demon. I decided for now that I would just sneak past them when they moved out of the way, and if we ever meet up again we could try talking. It's not the best situation. However, until I know more, it's best if I keep it to a down low. You two should stick close to me. That way I can use my concealing arts on us, the girl said as she raised her staff. Concealing arts? I looked back at the trio and saw that they started to disappear, with only their outline visible. Whoa. That would be a helpful ability for stealth. The adventures continued further into the cave, allowing me to sneak past them to go through the door. If we ever do meet up again, I hope we can be friends. After leaving the adventures to go further into the cave, I went through the door and continued on my adventure to find my way out of the cave. As I was continuing through the cave, I found my first monster. It was long and blank with yellow eyes and a head looking close to Veldora's if he was a snake rather than a dragon. Me and the snake stared at each other for a solid minute before it hissed at me and started to spew poisonous gas from its mouth that was capable of singeing the floor. I quickly jumped out of the way to avoid getting hit. Whoa. I do not want to get hit by that. I wanted to try a new technique to kill it if possible, so I activated Spark in my hand on each finger. Each finger on my hand had a small flame on it. I did the same with my other hand before combining all 10 flames to create a small fireball before throwing it towards the snake. Skill earned. Fireball, great. I got a new skill with that technique. The fireball hits the snake, causing it to catch on fire. After a few minutes, the fire dissipated, but didn't kill it, just left it heavily injured. So I decided to put it out of its misery and kill it with water blade. I used the skill and cut its head off, making it and its body flop onto the floor. Guess I'll be having snake tonight. I wonder how it'll taste. Announcement. It is recommended that you use Predator to devour the Tempest Serpent. Oh. What are the benefits of doing so? Answer. By devouring and analyzing the target, its skills can be gained. I see. That is actually quite good. I did the same as I did when I contained Veldora in my stomach, and used Slime Body and Predator at the same time to wrap around the serpent. Once it was done I turned off my skill and my hand turned back to normal. Skills. Sense Heat Source, and Poisonous Breath, gained. Oh. Also, you may mimic the form of any subject I have analyzed. Oh. I decided to try to mimic the serpent. When I began, black smoke surrounded my body and a few seconds later, I was a serpent. However, it wasn't perfect. There were a few differences here and there from the serpent I killed, and I could feel like I could still move my arms and legs somehow. Mimic, as just that, mimicking the form rather than complete shape-shifting. I think my organs and body parts are the same as well as my human form. It's a little disappointing, but until I find a way to get complete shape-shifting, that's what I'll have to use. My thoughts get interrupted by a small screech that doesn't sound human-like. I look over and see a small group of bats flying towards me. However, for some reason, I'm more focused on one part of them rather than the bats themselves, their wings. Wings. I turn off Mimic, and fire fireballs from my hands, hitting the bats. One by one, the small group of bats start to fall to the ground. Once they all fell, I used my skill once again and consumed each of the bats. Skills. Bat Wings, Drain, and Ultrasonic Wave, gained. I wasn't focused on the last two skills that much, even though Ultrasonic Wave is a good skill for finding my way out. I was more focused on the wings. For some reason, the wings were calling to me. I took off my scarf and my overcoat so I could make slots in the back for wings. However, there were already 2 slots in the coat for wings, like the one who wore it should have had wings. What? That's weird. Am I supposed to have wings? Negative. Only full demons can have wings. Your body has the organ for wings, however since you are only 50% demon, you don't have wings. I see. I put my coat and scarf back on and focus for a second to release the wings. The wings extend from my back, however, they feel right and wrong. Right because I feel like I'm supposed to have wings, and wrong because I feel like the right wing is supposed to be different, supposed to be nicer, more angelic. I start to grip my head as my head starts to hurt and I start hearing voices. You damn mixed blood. Those angel demon wings of yours are as much of a curse as your blood. You may be a goddess and the princess, but you're no daughter of mine. You were only born for order. My hands are on the ground as I breathe heavily at what I just experienced. Even with pain nullification, both my head and soul hurt. What the hell was that? Answer. Unknown. However, there's a possibility that activating bat wings caused a small fragment of your memory to return. I see. I shake my head at what just happened and begin collecting myself. After that, I began to start practicing with the wings, but it felt natural, so it was quite easy to master the wings in just a short amount of time. I continued through the cave, taking camp from here and there to eat and rest, and killed and devoured any monster that I came across and gained its skills. From an evil centipede, I gained paralysis breath, sticky thread, and steel thread from a black spider, and body armor from an armorsaurus. Also, through exploring the cave, I was able to gain more water and fire skills, which combined to create water manipulation and fire manipulation, which will make it easier to kill monsters later on.
Oh. 1 week later. It's now been a week since I killed the bat, and I'm now finally getting close to leaving. Only about an hour until I reach the entrance thanks to echolocation from ultrasonic wave. However, I'm getting there a lot quicker thanks to flying around with the wings. It truly does feel natural to fly around than walk. I start to see light coming into the cave, so I slow my approach and start gliding down to the ground. I take one last stretch after landing, as it's finally time to leave and see the world for the first time. As my eyes adjust to the brightness of the sun, I notice that the cave is somewhere in a giant forest. I don't have a destination at the moment, so I decided to just stroll around and see what I can find. Stroll around, practice flying in more open space, stroll around, practice skills, practice flying around in more open space. It's somewhat tranquil. It's hard to believe that I kept getting attacked in that cave. I'm practicing using the threads, so I'm currently dangling from a tree, but I start to hear something growling at me, so I look up and notice a small pack of wolves. What? As soon as I said that, they yipped and ran off. That was weird. They seemed quite frightened of me. I finish practicing using the threads and continue my stroll through the forest. As I was strolling around, I encountered a group of about 30 goblins with weapons and armor. They seem quite tense and nervous when they look at me, even sporting a small blush as well. Are they going to attack me? A helpless girl alone in a forest. Grarg, your mightiness, do you have any business beyond this point? The goblin in charge said. I give them a small wave. Hello, I'm Rimuru Tempest. It's a pleasure to meet you, I said happily. However, in the next second, all the goblins either fell to the ground or kneeled. Grarg, your mightiness, we recognize your unfathomable strength. Please, put away your tremendous aura. The leader shouted. Aura. Announcement. There is no monster within a radius of 100 meters that contains greater magicals than the individual, Rimuru Tempest. Great Sage, can I switch my magic sense viewpoint? I would like to look at myself. Switching. Looking at myself through magic sense, I notice that my aura is exuding out in all directions uncontrollably. Oops, I didn't mean for that to happen. No wonder the wolves ran away like they did. I began to push my aura back into me, and I already noticed a difference with the goblins. My deepest apologies, I never noticed that I wasn't controlling it. And no, miss, we are not worthy of your apologies. Thank you, your mightiness. Many were terrified by your aura.
After that, I had a nice talk with the goblins and they were quite helpful. They brought up the topic of me staying at their village, giving me a place to sleep. I happily accepted their offer and followed them through the forest to their village. There's our home. The goblin leader pointed to a small opening in the forest that had many small tents in a circle. He then brought me to an empty tent in the middle of the village. Please wait in here, I'll bring you the village elder. I went inside the tent. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either. In this time alone, I sit down on the mat and decide to think about my and the goblin's circumstances. I'm new to this world, possibly life itself as well, but I'm not sure. What happened when I got the bat wings is still in my mind. What were those voices? What did it mean when they said mixed blood? Am I a princess? Or was I really reincarnated? So many questions cloud my mind as I try to figure everything out, especially about who or what I am. Then there is this situation with the goblins. If I understood correctly from the adventures before, people now know that Veldora is gone and has disappeared. To most or all the races in this forest, he was somewhat of a god to them. With him gone, it's practically an all-out war to see which race comes out on top and gets the most territory, and that includes these goblins. However, rather than fighting for territory, They are fighting to survive. Their gear in these houses say it all: broken, rusted, barely any muscle. They just want to survive, and that's why they came to me earlier, to see if I was a threat. Thank you for waiting, visitor. My thoughts get interrupted by a new voice. I look up and see a much older looking goblin standing in front of the goblin before with a cane. I'm afraid that we have very little to offer you. I am the elder of this humble village. There's no need to worry. I am Rimuru Tempest. May I ask why I was invited to your village? I inquired. Both of the goblins then kneeled all the way with their hands and faces on the floor. My son has told me of the incredible power you harbor within yourself. Please, great miss, can you hear out our humble request? The elder requested. That depends on what the request is. Please, speak your mind. Yes, ma'am. The elder began to look back up to me. 1 month ago, the dragon god who protects this land suddenly vanished. Ever since, nearby monsters have come to our region in search of new territory. It's exactly as I thought. Most powerful of them all are the direwolves. Just one of them is so strong that even 10 of us have trouble defeating it. How many are there? I inquired. The pack is nearly 100 strong. As for our tribe, only 60 of us, including the females, are capable fighters. And you're certain there are 100 direwolves? The younger goblin nodded. Yes, no doubt about it. Rigger fought to the death to bring us that information. Rigger. Rigger is my elder brother. The greatest warrior in our village, who received a name from a famed Majin. It is thanks to him that we are still alive at all. Rigger is gone? Both goblins nodded. I'm sorry for your loss. The elder spoke up again. My son was the pride of my life. Even if we weaklings are destined to perish, we must still find a way to survive and honor his strength. I have one question for you, elder. What will I receive for saving your village? What can you offer me? Both goblins looked at each other before bowing down again. Your mightiness, we would pledge our loyalty to you. I didn't expect that, nor did I hate it. It seems mostly that they want a leader to guide and protect them. And I am willing to become that leader for them. I want to lead those who need someone to help guide them. I'll even rule this entire forest if I want to have cohabitation between monsters' races and possibly even humans, since I'm part human myself, though I may keep that a secret until the time is right. I want to have a place where everyone can be happy and not care about what race someone is, a place where they can be free from fighting. Not even a second later, a howl can be heard echoing through the forest. Just the sound alone shakes all the goblins that are in the tent with me. The howl of the direwolf. That was close by. Are they attacking at last? We're in danger here? It's all over. We're all going to be gobbled up. Let's run for our lives. Run where? We have nowhere to go. Not to mention all the wounded, women, and children. The elder tries to defuse the situation. Now calm down, all of you. There is nothing to fear. Everyone immediately becomes silent and starts to look at me. Soon the direwolves will be a threat no longer. Meaning, yes. Your request shall be granted. In the stead of the storm dragon, Veldora's disappearance. By my name, Rimuru Tempest, I shall protect its people and lead this village to prosper. Each of the goblins then began to kneel one by one. Please grant us your protection. And from this day forth, we shall ever be your faithful servants. Oh, after all of the goblins swore their loyalty to me, I asked the elder to show me to the injured. Even though I could defeat all of the direwolves alone, it would be good to have more people on backup just in case something happens. They are all victims of direwolf attacks. Each of the goblins here are bloody, bruised, and bandaged up entirely. You could see the mauling at some points, and the smell of blood and iron was strong here. Some have little time left. As I came up with an idea, I began to stand in the middle of the tent and extended my arms out. My hands turned to slime and started to expand into slime tentacles, going to each of the injured goblins. Once there were enough slime tentacles for each injured, each tentacle expanded and consumed each of the goblins. Lady Rimuru. What are you? I heard the elder say. However, I was too focused on healing them that I didn't reply. Once each of the goblins were consumed by slime and encased in the tentacles, I used a healing elixir I made. During my time in the cave, when I was in my campsites, I would try to find uses for the hypocoot herbs. After a few tries and thanks to Great Sage, I was able to create a healing elixir using the herbs and my magicules, which I'm now using to heal the goblins. One by one, the goblins were getting healed and spit out of the tentacles. What is? The goblin elder walked closer to the healed goblins as the slime began to retract and my hands began to turn back to normal. His wounds have healed. I should have guessed, Lady Rimuru. Of course you have the power of resurrection. Not at all, regeneration. In a way, yes, but, resurrection. No, not at all.
Lady Rimuru. I hear one of the goblins outside yells. I walk out to where I heard the voice and see that they have made my second request. When they gave me their loyalty, before I asked them to show me the wounded, I asked them to build a fence. We have created a fence, as you ordered. Is this satisfactory?
I put my hand on it and gave it a little nudge. It seems a little flimsy, but this is probably the best that can be done in such a short time. Now I extended my hand again and activated sticky thread, wrapping it around the makeshift fence for more stability. My lady, what are these? The elder inquired. I took the webbing from the spiders in the cave. Took? Now, we have our means to strike back. Oh Rimuru Pav. Later that night, they're coming. They're just up there. A goblin shouts from on top of a tree. I look in the direction he's pointing and see the pack rushing towards us. Stop where you are. I shout as all the direwolves stop where they are. That's her, Dad. She's the one. The direwolf with the star on its head communicates with his father. The demon with the incredible aura you came across. It's just a lowly girl. The father direwolf scoffs. Listen up. I'm only going to say this once. If you turn back now and leave us alone, you will not be harmed. Be smart, and leave this place. I command. Dad. The son shouts as his father and a few other direwolves rush forward. HMPH. A fence like those at human villages. This lowly girl fancies herself to be important. The leader begins to slow down to allow the other two direwolves to continue. You go first. Both direwolves rushed forward at full speed to get to me. However, as they got only 75% of the way, they began to get cut and sliced everywhere, causing them to bleed out and die. What just happened? The leader direwolf began to notice thin threads suspended in the air encased in the blood of the fallen direwolves. What is this? Is that what those threads were for? I just assumed you were strengthening the posts, the elder said surprisingly. I used sticky threads to strengthen the fence. But those were steel threads, I explained. Some of the goblins began shooting the direwolves that would rush towards them. Between the threads and the arrows, they're going to find it hard to rush the fence. And even if they do, it won't be pretty for them. Impossible. The proud direwolves can never be bested by inferior creatures like goblins and a demon girl. I cannot accept this. The leader thought before beginning to rush himself. Dad? The son of the leader direwolf exclaimed, surprised by his father's actions. Mere tricks. He began to think to himself as he rushed forward, dodging each of the threads. The blood of my fellow wolves allows me to see the strings, and my claws and fangs are more than strong enough to sever them. He began to rush even faster to get to me. I was honestly impressed. Once he got to a certain distance, he jumped, ready to pounce on me. Don't get cocky, you lowly demon. I will crush you flat. Lady Rimuru. The goblins shouted in concern. Nice try, I said with a smug grin. Threads began to wrap around the legs and body of the direwolf, immobilizing it. Too bad you fell into my sticky threads. I start to gather water in my hand using water manipulation to create a water blade. The blade shoots out at the immobilized direwolf and cuts off his head in one strike, flopping the head on the ground. Shush, she did it. The goblins cheered. Dad, listen up, the rest of the direwolves. Your pack leader is now gone. To avoid further bloodshed, I'm giving you two options. Surrender, or leave and never come back. I don't want this fight to continue if it doesn't need to, so I gave them those options. Surrender and we won't fight anymore, or leave and find a different place to hunt, away from us. They haven't moved since I killed their leader, so I decided on a different approach. I use my skill and devour the body of the leader. Direwolf analysis complete. Good. As I did with the Tempest Serpent, I began to mimic the leader. Using a few skills, I made my voice more commanding and thunderous. If you will not follow my commands, I will allow you all to leave without quarrel. Each of the direwolves then began to bow down. We will follow you to the ends of the earth, master. That's unexpected, but not unwelcoming. Oh, Oh, the next morning. Now it's time to discuss with everyone what the plan is going to be for cohabitation. I didn't expect that we would already get another race to try and cohabitate with already. I began to sit down on a tree stump, looking at both races, before asking the elder a question that's been on my mind. Apologies for not asking before, but what is your name? Monsters do not usually have their own names. He begins to explain. After all, we do not need names to make ourselves understood. Oh, I see. Still, it would be quite convenient to have one anyways. Why don't I just give each of you a name? As soon as I offered that, everyone looked at me with a face of surprise and admiration. Are you certain? The elder asks carefully. I nod with a smile. Of course. Please, everyone, get into a single file line. From the way they were acting, there must be more about naming, however, I won't worry about that now. Everyone began to line up with the elder and his son at the front, kneeling in front of the stump I was sitting on. Alright, let's begin. Let's see, the elder and his son. You're relatives of Rigger, the greatest warrior of the village, right? Why yes, my lady. He confirms. Then as his father, I name the elder, Riggard, and Rigger's younger brother shall carry on his name, Rigger, henceforth. Yes ma'am. The newly named, Rigger, exclaimed. I then began to name the rest of the goblins from Gobta, Gobchi, Gobsu, Gobzo, etc. There are so many goblins so it takes a little time to get through them all. Are you sure about this, Lady Rimuru? Riggard asks me with concern. I tilt my head. I am aware that you have great magical power, but if you give each and every one of us a name, so that's what it is about naming. I even felt my power start to get drained every time I named someone. However, I won't let that stop me, I'll recover. I shake my head. You don't need to worry, Riggard, I will still name everyone. Naming the goblins continued for a little while longer until all that was left was the direwolves. Let's see, you're the son of the direwolf leader, right? I'll create a new name for you. Combining Storm and Fang. I will give you the name Ranga. As soon as I gave him the name, I started to get dizzy and magic sense turned off. My eyes were starting to close as I started to fall backward. Whoa. What's happening to me? Answer. Your remaining magicule level has dropped to a certain point, putting you into an automatic sleep mode. I see, I must have used too many magicules when naming, that was my own fault. Your estimated time for full recovery is 3 days. I see. Then I guess. Good night, great sage.